2, 1, we're good.
All right, guys. Welcome to Ridiculous Gaming. I'm your host, Conrad. My co-host, Keith, for the night. We're kind of missing Josh, at least for the first half.
For now, yeah.
And we are here with our special guest, Erik Vogel. So, Erik, if you want to talk about a little bit about what you keep or have kept, I will be right back. Yeah, but if you want to talk about what got you into the hobby, if you want to start with that.
Where'd he go? He left?
I think someone knocked on his door. There he is.
So believe it or not, my wife's been in the hobby a lot longer than I have. She's been doing this for 40 years almost.
Wow. It's usually the other way around.
Yeah, usually... I know. She's a crazy chick, though.
Aren't they all?
So when I was young, had a couple. When I was young, had a couple lizards and had a boa constrictor, and that's really all I had. I mean, I used to play out back in the, I lived in Florida, so I used to play water moccasins and whatever else was in my backyard, I got out of the hobby for quite a long time. I've been in Ohio now for about 2 years, so I really heavily got back into the hobby when I moved to Ohio. Ohio's got weird venomous laws compared to some of the more lenient states like Pennsylvania and Texas and things like that. And I had some venomous experience previously, not a ton, but enough to where I was comfortable with my handling and so on and so forth. I used to know a rattlesnake trapping company down in Florida, and was good friends with the guy that owned it, and learned a lot. And the rest came from really reading and kind of picking other keepers' brains and so on and so forth. So I'm very familiar with most of the Crotalus species, any of the North American pit vipers, and just recently I just started getting into some others as well. But it took me a while in Ohio to get all my information up to get a permit. I mean, there's only 3 of us in Ohio that have venomous on our permit legally.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, there's probably a ton of people that keep illegally.
Yeah.
Some of them are really quiet. Some of them aren't. But in Ohio right now, there's only 3 of us that really are allowed, God forbid if, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources came, there's only 3 of us that wouldn't get our snakes taken away and get fined. So right now,
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Big state.
Yeah. No, tell me about it. So, I mean, right now, my wife's heavily into ball pythons. She's owned a ton of different species. She's got venomous experience also. She worked when she was down in Florida. Now, I didn't meet her in Florida. How I met her is kind of weird. We can get into that later. But she worked down at some pet stores down there that dealt with exotics and exotic breeding. Anywhere from iguanas to rattlesnakes to gaboon vipers to whatever else. So, I mean, her experience level far outweighs mine, but I retain a lot. I'm lucky that I have a good job that I work hard at, so I can keep my collection going. And right now we have a pretty big collection. We have about 100 snakes total. Wow. I've got about in the high double digits for non-venomous, and right now I'm housing about 18 venomous. Okay. So I have them in separate rooms. The room I'm in now is kind of my quiet room, which is my venomous room. It's under computerized, one of those kind of computer button key pads to get in.
Yeah, I saw that picture on your Facebook.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I mean, I tried to make this room virtually inescapable, almost like a panic room.
Right. Now, does
Um,
that have to do with the permit and everything?
not really. It has more to do with being responsible.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want.
Mistakes. While mistakes shouldn't happen, people have mistakes happen. I mean,
Right.
you know,
I know, what's the guy's name? I know he's in Florida. He makes YouTube videos.
Tyler Nolan.
Yeah, I was watching one of his videos, and I know they were saying like his room had to have so many escape routes or vents were. There was like regulations that his room had to meet for him to keep his license.
Yeah, Ohio's strict, but they don't really have a statute on the room.
Okay.
So I'm responsible. I've got kids in my house.
Well, yeah, that's good.
You know, I've got an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old that are fully aware of what I keep.
Right.
But you know, we've tested this room quite a few times with some non-venomous snakes to see if they could get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got a mandarin rat that likes to move and is pretty small, and he couldn't get out of the room. So if he's not getting out, I doubt anything else I have is going to get out. I mean, you know, I've tried to do everything as responsible as possible. I'm not I love posting pictures on Facebook and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to be responsible and give the hobby a good name. I'm not too big on, you know, on taking my snakes out when they don't need to be out.
Right.
I totally understand.
You know, and I got nothing against people that free handle and people that are confident in their snakes and everything else. I just choose a different route with mine.
Mm-hmm.
I take mine out when I need to take them out. You know, if I need to clean their cage, I take them out. If I need to change water bowls, I take them out. Other than that, I don't take them out for fun,
right,
per se. You know, there's one or two of them that I don't mind taking out periodically, like if I want a picture of them outside their enclosure. But sometimes it's just not worth the, you know, I'm not in it for the YouTube views or anything else. I've got a lot of friends in the hobby. Jen, my wife, has a lot of friends in the hobby. And really, I just, you know, I like showing off good looking snakes. You know, found out today, I just bought a snake a couple nights ago. We were looking and the reptile report posted the picture of my snake, and I didn't even know it. They didn't tag me.
No way.
Yeah.
I see.
I just picked up an Atheris Nietzsche, and a Great Lakes bush viper, and actually the owner that sold it to me took the picture and sent it to me.
Yeah.
So I just used the picture. It was a great picture. And a friend of mine earlier tagged me saying, "Nice looking snake." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh, cool. It's on the." And I never had any of my snakes on the reptile report. I mean, I follow them, but you know,
right.
I'm not a professional photographer. I mean, I've gotten creative on how to take pictures of my snakes I have.
Right.
You know, I actually bought this DJI gimbal that I use for some of my pics, and I've also got a believe it or not, a selfie stick that I used to get up close. I mean,
right.
You know, there's some dudes on Facebook that have become creative with their cameras and putting plexiglass shields on the front of them behind the lenses, and all kinds of stuff. And I just found, you know, my iPhone 11 Pro takes great pictures. Mm-hmm. It's just getting close enough to the snake to be able to get a picture. And if they snap at my phone, I mean, it is what it is. But that selfie stick's probably about 37 inches long or 38 inches long extended. And it's Bluetooth controlled. So, I mean, I can snap a picture anywhere I want.
Right.
So, you know, I try to get pics and post them often. You know, venomous snakes. I mean, there's so many people when you post and people question, why do you have venomous snakes? I mean, because I can. I mean, you know,
do you the pictures? Do you post them to just Facebook, or do you have like an Instagram or anything like that?
I've got an Instagram. I haven't really done a lot of cross-platform stuff as far as pictures are concerned.
Well, you know, anyone watching, just make sure they know where to go if they want to see them and whatnot. So. Yeah,
I mean, I have them on my personal page, and unfortunately, I don't have an Instagram. I mean, my Instagram's at the Erik Vogel, and you know, I may start posting on there and cross-posting some because I've got. I mean, I spend probably a half an hour a day getting pictures. Yeah, because you walk in your room and you know you're like, "Oh, I'll make a killer picture."
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden you're taking a picture of your snake or you know or whatever, and not just venomous. I mean, you know, carpet pythons and green tree pythons and I leave the ball pythons to my wife. I've kind of gotten over them. I can't say that out loud though. But I mean, there's so many other species. I mean, we probably have 30 or 35 different species. Well, more than that now. Probably have 45 or 50 different species of snake.
Okay.
So, and I mean, I'm not an expert in all of them, but I know enough in all of them to where I'm not going to get in trouble, and I'll keep my snakes healthy. I'm not an expert at anything. At least I don't believe in being an expert. I mean, I'm always learning something from somebody.
Right.
But I know enough to teach other people. I've got a couple people that have been attending my house to try to get some hours with, Ohio requires 2 years of experience to get your license, and a whole bunch of other wacky crap. So I've been working with a couple people that are local that are trying to get their license and trying to give them some experience, but also trying to keep my ass. Oops, sorry, I said ass.
You're good, man.
Trying to keep my butt liability wise kind of safe.
Right.
Last thing I need is somebody coming to my house that's going to get bit and, try to sue me.
Yeah, that's.
So, from a venomous perspective right now, I've got a few arboreals. You guys, you saw the picture of the Nischi, the Great Lakes bush viper. I've got a couple of squamageras also, same genus Atheris. They're variable bush vipers. A little bit smaller than the Great Lakes, but very, very similar. In fact, if you don't know venomous, some people can't even tell them apart. So I got a gaboon viper, Bitis rhinoceros, which is a West African gaboon. I got a monocled cobra. Got a contortrix, which is a copperhead. Got a spotted copperhead in here. I just got Protobothrops Jordani, which is a Jordan's pit viper. Actually, it's a red-spotted pit viper from Asia. And if I posted a picture earlier, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the resemblance they have to the American copperheads, being from halfway around the world is I mean, it's almost like a duplicate snake, with the exception of the Protobothrops have like a prehensile tail, so they can be a little bit semi-arboreal. They kind of climb sometimes.
Okay.
The copperheads, you really do. I mean, actually, it's funny I say that about copperheads not climbing. I just saw an article about a hunter. I think it was in Florida. I'm not sure, but some guy was hunting and said a copperhead came out of a tree and bit his head. And, I mean, that's like one of those things where you kind of scratch your head and be like, a copperhead in a tree.
Well,
Social King
well,
says,
I have heard that. I've seen pictures and videos of I guess they love cicadas.
Yeah.
And I guess they do climb up in like small bushes and stuff to eat cicadas. So I
mean, this guy was in a tree, and I think they said it had something to do with there was some flooding or something in the area that it was in.
Oh.
So he probably climbed to higher ground. But I mean, I love my copperhead. That's probably my favorite snake I own. He's use this word loosely, but personality. I mean, every time I walk in the room, he's probably the only snake that just watches where I go. I'll be walking around and the dude will be up at the glass kind of watching me, and he'll follow me back and forth across his enclosure. And sometimes I can't tell if he wants to eat me or if he just wants to be my friend. But either way, I mean, he's probably one of the coolest snakes I own. Very, very manageable. And he's not.
What's going on, Adam?
Huh?
Oh, you're fine. I'm just people commenting. That's all.
That's all good. Some of the copperheads are a little defensive. Same with like water moccasins, cottonmouths. But mine's really good. I mean, if there was a snake in my room that I ever wanted to free handle, that would probably be him. He doesn't snap. He's quick, but he's just not an ass at all.
Right. Andrew Lenore from the Python group says hi.
Who?
Andrew Lenore.
Oh, cool. What's up?
So,
I got I've got 4 Western Diamondbacks also. Crotalus atrox. They're probably, I know I said the copperhead was my favorite snake, but my favorite species of snake is going to be diamondback rattlesnakes.
Okay.
I've got 3 that are really mellow, and I've got 1 that's a major bitch. My one that's a major bitch. I mean, she's a major bitch. She never gets, she came from a buddy of mine that had her, and she was a major bitch for him too. She never settles down. She's always, if she sees people or hears somebody, I mean, her rattle's going crazy. I mean, she's up in that that standard S strike pose with a rattle going. I mean, she's ready to roll if you go inside her cage. Luckily, most of the time when I open her cage, she does stand her ground. She doesn't go quickly. She doesn't back down. But sometimes if I use my hook, if I'm going to try to pull her out, she'll retreat back into her hide box, and then I can just close the front of it. I don't know how familiar with you guys are with venomous stuff, but I do use some trap boxes as some hides inside the enclosures. Just depending on the snake. I have 3 snakes that I use trap boxes with intermittently.
Wow. What exactly is a trap box?
So here, let me use my gimbal, kind of show you guys. And I'm gonna give me a sec, because what happens if I put you guys on pause for a second? Will you disconnect?
No, you'll still be there, just not visible. That's all.
All right, hold on 1 second.
All right.
So all my lights in here are controlled by my phone.
All right.
So
Adam wants to know if you took classes for handling.
no classes. It's very rare to find a class anywhere near here for handling. Most of the time, it's just going to be nice. Most of the time, it's just going to be experience with other handlers. I'm always feeding one of our carpet pythons that just decided to eat the tongs with the rat. So, let me
That's
flip my
awesome.
camera here.
There we go.
All right, so
He's in the pot.
she's in the pot. So you see the black box? Actually, you know what? I have one loose. Give me a sec. Oh. So if you look, these come in different designs. This one. So this one, if you look at it, got a plexiglass top, and
All right.
it's got an entrance. So basically, the point is, snake goes inside hole. You can take a hook, shut the drawer. Snake can't get out.
That's pretty
Most of
nifty.
them have a lock of some sort to lock it. So if you lock it, obviously you can't open it. And then you can also use them as a transport box. God forbid you got to go to the vet or some weird stuff, which I never have to do. But if I did, I'd use a trap box for transport. And obviously it's got a plexiglass top, so snake can't get out, and then it's got a lockable lid on it too. But I use these for a few of my snakes. And some people don't believe in them. Some people do. The people that don't believe in them, I get. It's their opinion and everything. I'm not a huge. I don't use them for every snake. As you can see, this is my monocle cobra. But you can see her or his hide box that I have. His is a little bit smaller and a little bit better design, or a little bit more of a design that I like. He's somewhere in here, probably hiding inside one of his pots. Sorry, let me get the camera back on here real quick.
Oh, no problem.
So anyway, I use them for 3 snakes for transport. Makes my life easier. It's less stress on the snake, in my opinion, also.
Right.
Those snakes no snake obviously likes being handled. It's not like they get a kick out of it. But especially these guys, the less risk I could put myself through, the better.
Right.
Right. It's definitely better safe than sorry.
Yeah,
definitely.
and everything in here is safe. I mean, all the cages are marked with species and common name. They've all got locks on them. Obviously, most of the cages either have a key lock or a combo lock. So I mean, everything in here is pretty secure. Nobody's getting out. Some of the cages, like my glass sliders, I've even put some gasket between. I don't know if you guys have ever seen sliders, but there's a space where the glass slides across each other.
Yeah.
Cobras have a habit of getting flat, very flat. So the last thing I need is obviously a cobra crawling around the room when I walk in here. I have video monitoring in here also, and my video monitoring has motion detection on it. So
you're definitely set.
Yeah, believe it or not, I have it set pretty sensitive. The only issue is it gets movement inside the cages also. So sometimes I'm getting alerts left and right when a snake's active, but I'd rather get the alerts and be safe than not. I'll just ignore them if I see it's a snake moving around. Yeah, in fact, got one of my squams. Let's see if I can get a picture of him because he's kind of rarely gets out.
Jamie from
Inactive.
RC Reptiles says, "Nice seeing an appearance from Jen. You guys have such a nice snake room."
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's
So-
definitely
It's
well designed.
definitely set.
That's one of my adult squams right there.
Let me make it bigger here. There we go.
So he's I just turned his light back on, so he's probably like WTF. You know, they go through kind of, you know, I have them all in a day-night cycle here. So he's like, dude, what are you doing? But you know, he's just up looking at the light. Their squams aren't very active during the day at all. Actually, they're not very active at all, period. And then this is one of my other squams I got. I don't know if you could see her kind of hiding in the bushes. She's a bright yellow color.
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
So
vaguely
yeah,
through the
yeah, a
leaves.
little bit.
she's kind of chilling out. And then this guy, you're not going to see him. He's camouflaged. So let's see.
It's
Who else we got?
definitely sweet, the setup and everything. I mean, most people's houses are the setups you see, they're all in tubs and nothing really on display.
Oh yeah, no, I got a lot of display stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So this is my gaboon enclosure. I took him out earlier just to kind of check on him. This gaboon's like 1.5 years. I don't know where he's at. I think he's behind the bushes. Obviously, I'm not sticking my hand in there to figure out where he's at, but you know, she's a juvenile. So and some of juveniles, especially wild caught ones, you have a problem getting them to drink out of a water bowl. So you got to kind of make sure they're hydrated every so often. You know, the frozen rats that he takes, I make sure I douse them in water. My wife keeps correcting me. She's a she, sorry. But you know, I got to make sure she stays hydrated because she doesn't move at all from the spot she stays in. So, I mean, she will stay for a flat 3 weeks in the same exact spot with her head in the same place and never move. So she was kind of pissed this morning. I think she's back hiding right now, so I'm not going to mess with her. You know, she's somewhere back there, kind of in those bushes. It's my adult copperhead. He's really deep in shed. That's why he's not up at the glass right now, because he probably doesn't see me.
Yeah, he's super blue right now.
Oh yeah. He looks ridiculous right now. He's usually the black and grays are very you can kind of pick them apart very easily. But he's just kind of in his own world right now. He doesn't even know I'm sitting here. So
Adam wants to know, who's at the Gaboon, why they have a problem finding the water source. Is it an ambush predator reason?
You know, I don't know why in captivity they don't drink out of a bowl. Typically, so if you spray a Gaboon's cage, you know, just for any type of like, let's say I'm going to rehydrate it because Gaboons need a decent amount of humidity inside their enclosure. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll actually drink off of leaves before they'll go over to the water bowl. And I think the Gaboon's nature, I mean, most Gaboons, their feeding is inconsistent. I mean, not inconsistent, but just you're not feeding them very often. This Gaboon I've got is probably, it's probably 1 year and change old, maybe 1.5 years. And she probably eats once every 2 weeks right now. So many people try to. I think gaboons for most people are a status symbol. Like everybody wants a gaboon because they're big and badass, and
The patterns are nuts.
The gaboon viper is one of my favorite species of snake. But these people try to kind of like boas. People get them as a status symbol, and they try to make them like 12 feet in like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up with an unhealthy snake that dies when they're 8. People have that same thing with gaboons, is they try to overfeed them, and you have this big fat blobby snake in 2 years, and it's not good for the snake. I mean, there's snakes that are the same age as mine that are probably 4 times the size. But I mean, people are feeding them every 5 days, and it's unnecessary. Just gaboons by nature, if you read about them, are very sedentary animals. In fact, most of the bites that are reported from gaboons are from people that step on them. They'll be walking through a forest and in Africa, and they'll be hidden in the leaves. Somebody will step on them, and these guys strike faster than 100,000 other snakes out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you ever watch one eat, the speed and what they can do, it's you can't compare it. I mean, rattlesnakes are fast. They're fast and accurate. Cobras, they're fast. They're fast movers. But they don't strike the same as like a rattlesnake. In fact, my cobra will sometimes bluff strike its food before. That's just cobras will closed mouth strike a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Rattlesnakes, there's no forgiveness. I mean, if you cross paths with a rattlesnake and a rattlesnake picks up your heat signature and you are in striking distance, unless you're faster than the rattlesnake, which probably isn't most people out there, you're going to get bit. Rattlesnakes don't miss. Cobras bluff strike. You still want to put yourself in a position where you're going to get bit,
right?
But they bluff strike. Gaboons you don't want to screw with. There's a lot of people that buy gaboons as their first venomous snake, thinking because the gaboon viper is the single most. It's the single biggest snake that you can become complacent with and get into trouble, because they're so inanimate and they don't move. People just get very very complacent and comfortable with them, and all it takes with them is one screw up. I mean, if I told you that I stuck a live, my gaboon unfortunately doesn't take frozen right now. I've been trying to switch him over, or her, so she takes live, and I don't care what I feed my snakes. I feed them as long as I supervise. They can eat live, they can eat frozen, I can care less.
As long as the snake's eating, I think that's like,
If you guys actually watch live a gaboon eat and how they strike, you'd be amazed. I mean, a gaboon could go from what you think is sleeping to having a rat in their mouth before the blink of an eye.
Wow.
I mean, from total, and gaboons, rattlers, if a rattler's going to strike, you'll see a rattler typically get in a coil position and strike.
Mm-hmm.
I've never personally seen a rattler strike if it wasn't coiled to strike. In fact, I don't even know if it's by physics, if it's possible for a rattler to physically strike without being coiled. Gaboons don't need to be coiled to strike. So they can be laid out flat with just a little curve in their neck, and before you blink your eye, they can be backwards.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even know it. So,
Adam, seen much complacency with gaboons on social media? That's crazy.
I mean, none of these snakes are snakes you really want to mess with, especially at a beginning in the hobby. I mean, rattlesnakes, obviously, they're a North American species. You have a good chance. You have a good chance these days of being treated from any snake bite. But like I said, gaboons they're not a snake people want to mess with. They're not a status symbol. They're nothing like that. They're really cool animals that you just need to respect.
Mm-hmm.
And, I give mine a good size enclosure. In fact, her enclosure is probably a little bit too big for her right now. I've been contemplating downsizing it a little bit because she might not feel secure in there because it's so big.
Right.
But kind of remains to be seen. We'll see how she grows. She's eating, so, and she has sufficient hiding spaces, so I'll kind of monitor her progress. But on my back wall behind me, I'll show you guys my Jordan's pit viper that just came in. The snake's amazing, and there's so few of them out there. If you give me a sec, I'll
You're good.
flip over. So it's a Jordan's pit viper, a red spotted pit viper. Dude, I got him from said he was a major ass. So far with me, he's been pretty cool. Very mellow in the enclosure right now. Very sedentary. He's been sitting around that. Whoa, sorry.
Oh, good.
Good.
Hold on. See what happened here. Oh, there we go. Ooh. Very sedentary so far. Just kind of sits around this tree chilling out. This particular species of the red spotted pit viper is found in the higher elevations of the where's this one from? This one's one of the provinces in China. So they're going to be found in some of the higher mountain elevations in China. So I really don't have any heat on him. You know, as you can see right now, his enclosure is 77 degrees, and they're perfectly content at that temperature. They eat well. My gimbal's messing up, so I'm gonna turn it off.
All right. Adam said, sorry, it probably has been asked. I just got home from work. How long have you been keeping hots? I know you went over that in the beginning, but
I did. So experience-wise, I've got some good experience keeping in Ohio right now on my own. Probably within the year. Right now, hold on. There we go. Probably within the year. In Ohio, it took me a little while to get my permit here, and that's the reason why. Otherwise, I probably would have been keeping from the time I moved here about 2 years ago. So actually, this gimbal's a little bit better, and this one will actually.
Okay, let me make it big again.
This one is going to let me get in so you guys can see some snakes too, because I'll open their enclosures.
Oh, sweet.
And put this in there. That way, at least you guys can see some things you don't see normally. So, can you give me my keys, please, out of there? No.
So, for someone who wants to get into Venomous, what would you recommend they do?
Play with somebody else's snakes for a while. I mean, it's what it is. Play with somebody else's snakes. Get yourself comfortable. You know. So this is one of my rattlers, and since he's right here, I usually open my enclosures with a hook.
Hold the camera for you?
I got. So, kind of get close up on the trucks. He's about. He's probably about 1.5 years old. You can see he's really mellow. If this was my female, she would be eating my phone right now. This phone's probably about 3 or 4 inches from him. He doesn't rattle. He's an atypical Atrox. Because most Western Diamondbacks are total assholes.
Right.
But he's pretty chill. He's pretty mellow. You know, but this is my stick that kind of allows me to get a little closer to them. And, you know, he's not scared. He's not rattling. He's not fleeing. So he's a tangerine albino. So a little bit of albinism, but the tangerine color, that orange color that he's got. We'll see if we can get a shot of my female here. She's in her hide box, but if she strikes my phone, don't freak out.
Everyone's going to jump back from their screens.
You'll definitely rattle. You will definitely.
So let's see. I'm going to flip you back to me because the angle. But let's see if we can see where she's at. I did.
Oh, there she is.
Yep, there's the rattle.
Yep.
There it is.
That's crazy.
We're going to leave her alone.
Right.
Because this is her normal. This is what she does. Like I said, I mean, you can always depend on her to rattle. So we'll move down a little bit here. She's going to rattle for like the next 10 minutes, so you're going to hear some rattling in the background.
That's fine. So, being as you're from Ohio, have you tried looking for the Eastern Massasauga?
I haven't. I haven't been herping here yet. I got a buddy that I met in the venomous world. He's actually a really good dude. Just doesn't participate on Facebook a lot, but he's a smart dude when it comes to venomous. His name's Brian Charles. We're going to come springtime. There's a few dens left with some timbers out here, and there's not a lot of timbers left in Ohio at all. But he knows of a few dens, so we're going to go herp for some timbers. We'll probably find some copperheads out here too when we go out. So
Now, the laws in Ohio, are you allowed to keep what you find or anything like that?
Nope. If you have to have a propagation permit for any wild species, and they cannot be collected from the wild.
Okay.
So you have to prove if you own them. So my copperhead is a native to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a venomous permit, it supersedes the Department of Wildlife permit, so I don't need a propagation permit. However, I still have to prove to the Department of Natural Resources or Department of Agriculture, who administers my license. If you keep a native species, you have to prove where you got it from.
Okay.
So it has to be captive born and bred, and you have to be able to prove that by a bill of sale or something like that.
Okay.
So this little guy that I got my camera on now, if you can see him, damn, so bad.
She's just spent 5 minutes digging a hole with her head.
So these are lubricus. A couple different common names. Cape Coral Cobra, Cape Coral Snake, whatever the hell you want to call her. They are not a true Naja. They're not a true cobra. They reference it like a cobra because they can do their version of hooding if they get pissed off. Unfortunately, mine are defective. They don't hood. So they're just they're very kind of chill snakes. So I've got him. It's actually the first snake I've ever kept on sand. I've never kept a snake before on sand except these two that I got. I got both these lubricus from Cody Bartolini, who's a very big venomous guy out of Florida. But he got a pair of these captive bred lubricus in, and they're a great elapid species to keep. Typically, they're pretty chill. They're very easy to keep. Unfortunately, they don't prepare you for any other venomous species at all because most of them are pretty chill.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not your typical elapid, your typical cobra.
Right.
You can't buy this and expect to buy a monocled or a spectacled cobra or an Indian cobra and expect the same results. But these guys are great snakes to keep. I got two of them, actually. They're both females. This one, as you can see, also is in shed. They are avid diggers. They love digging burrows under everything. In fact, if I can get close enough. So their head shape, if you look, almost they've got like a flat shovel on the front of their head. And that's what they use it for. They use it for digging. So they can burrow in anything. You can keep these guys on aspen. You can keep on whatever the hell you want, really. They just don't need a lot of humidity because, they're from South Africa, so they're not from like a very humid area. But very cool species of snake to keep.
All right. Adam wants to know if there's a difference with temperament being captive bred or wild caught.
I mean, some people say there are. I've had wild caught snakes that are. I've had wild caught snakes that are just docile, and you almost think that somebody hatched them inside their house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've had some captive bred snakes that are complete and total assholes. Damn, I said it again. I'm sorry. I told you my mouth is bad.
No, you're good, man.
That's all right.
It happens.
Yeah, I've seen a mix. I mean, these aren't like cats and dogs where you can breed out temperament in generations,
Okay.
They're still exotic animals. If the cobra was awake, my monocled, he's captive bred and he's a complete and total dick. I mean, just he sees me in front of his cage and he will strike the glass 30 times until I move away. And Michael Jolliffe out of South Carolina bred him. He's a great guy, one of the big monocled breeders on the East Coast. And he's an orange pastel, but I mean, he's just that's what they do. I mean,
Right.
It doesn't matter how far out of wild they're bred.
They still have instinct.
Exactly. I mean, they're
Right.
still preyed upon, and they still have that instinct that they're not at the top of the food chain. They're not an apex predator. So, what else? Oh, here we go. He just went back in. Oh no, sorry. So, I'll wait to see if my other guys come out.
Okay.
And see if I can get photos of them for you guys. I mean, I've got like I said, I've got a ton of species here. I mean, not just venomous,
What's your
non-venomous.
right? What's your favorite snake out of your non-venomous room?
No ball pythons. No. You know what? That's a tough one.
I take it it's one of the ball pythons.
No. So here, hold on. I'll bring you out there. So this is the other part of my room. It's too big of a picture of me. Nobody wants to see me like that.
See close up of what you show us.
I'm trying to. Oh, here we go.
There you
Flip. So this is the other part of my snake room. So my favorite snake right now.
Here's not a snake, my favorite animal in here.
Yeah, that's her favorite animal.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, Leachianus gecko. She doesn't like me, so I don't touch her because she almost bit me the last time I tried to touch her.
Yeah, I heard they got a nice little chomp to them.
Yeah, my favorite guy right now is probably going to be probably this guy. So,
oh yeah,
this is
oh man, yeah, he's super cool.
Morelia viridis, green tree python.
Adam wants to know if there's permits required for other species besides the Hawks in Ohio. He loves the Social King loves the lychee, and Jamie said show the retics.
So my only retic that I have right now are at a buddy of mine's house. He actually took. So I had an issue when I got my retic permit in the place I lived. I lived in an area. I lived in a homeowners association. Unfortunately, when I had my retics, and I had to evacuate some of my retics out because they weren't allowed for my homeowners association. Somebody in the complex had a huge cow about them. So the retics that I had left, I don't have right now. So there's not going to be any pictures of retics to show.
I got you.
So yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's a black pine snake. He's a pretty cool dude.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he looks really chill. So when you say black pine snake, is that just like a melanistic form?
So I am not familiar with morphs or localities on pine snakes. Jennifer has a friend out of Jersey. Or no, I thought he was in Jersey. Okay, he's in Pennsylvania. His name is Jay Jacoby. He's actually a pine breeder. So pines are bred mostly from locality, and I would assume that black is a version of melanistic, kind of like other snakes, but I'm not completely sure, so I don't want to put that information out.
Right.
I know his locality. So the black one, we have a white one also, which is a high white northern. He's from the New Jersey area. This one. So you can see his coloring.
He's in shed.
And he's in shed right now. So he's from the New Jersey area. The black one's down from Mobile, Alabama, down in the southern U.S.
Okay.
So I'm assuming down there we're going to get more coloration. Now I know that Jay just started with some. He's got some leucistic, and he's also got some pines, which are really weird looking.
Oh, I never seen those.
Yeah, he's got some cool looking. He's got some cool looking stuff.
Oh yeah.
So, but this is the second part of our room. We have probably out here. We probably have about 60, 65 snakes out here. Just between the racks, I've got some green tree pythons in the tubs.
Now, do you plan on ever breeding, or is this just like your personal collection for keeping?
I really don't know. My wife's going to get into breeding some balls. In fact, we already are. We already are doing it to an extent. We've got a couple pairings that we've done already. I've got enough stock in other snakes. Right now I have 14 carpets. Of the carpets, probably 6 of them are breeder size. So I've got enough stock to make good snakes. It's just a question of what I'm really interested in reproducing. Mainly, it's a hobby for me.
Right.
I don't want to. I spend enough time taking care of what I have to throw breeding 10 different species on top of that is probably not in the cards for me. It's just I like I said, I spend, between my wife and I, we probably spend an hour and a half to 2 hours a day keeping tabs on what we got. Just from a husbandry perspective, a lot of people start hoarding snakes and they can't take care of all of them.
Right.
You go in their cages and they're disgusting, or they have urates all over the place, or all my cages. We spot clean and then full clean very often. Obviously, snake pees inside of a 4x2 enclosure. I can't change out all the substrate every time it goes to the bathroom. But we do a good job of keeping up on cleaning with them. Humidity and temperature requirements we are very keen on. And I'm just afraid if we start breeding on like a bigger scale, that part of me is going to kind of go by the wayside. And I just, I'm more interested in the welfare of the animal than making money off the animal.
Right.
So
That's definitely respectable.
Yep.
So what's your favorite venomous snake?
Like I said, my copperhead's probably my favorite. This Protobothrops I just got, the red spotted pit viper. He's kind of growing on me. It's really hard because all of them give me a different type of satisfaction.
Right.
It's just I have so much trouble picking favorites.
I could relate. That's what I said when Conrad first asked me that question.
Yeah, man, it's
like they're all cool for their own reasons.
Exactly. Sometimes I'll pull up a chair and I'll sit in front of my squam's cages and just watch them, and they're not doing anything.
Right.
They're just sitting there in the tree. I can barely see them, but I'm kind of just waiting to see. Are they going to yawn? Are they going to move? What are they going to do?
Do you have any species that you don't own that you really want to, or like a dream snake?
Yeah, everybody and their mother always wants a Boelen's python. I'll get one eventually if I can find one that is, it's not a question of the money. It's just a question of finding one that if I'm going to spend the money is going to stay alive and be healthy. My feelings are mixed about wild caught snakes. I've got some that are imports. I've had snakes die that were imports. I've never had a captive bred snake die, knock on wood. I've got some imports that I've got. I just had a squam die not too long ago. Was eating, was fine, and came in one day. Jennifer called me and she's like, your snake's laying on the floor of its cage upside down. I'm like, awesome. So some of these imports, especially lizard eaters, smaller squams that feast on lizards and stuff in the wild. They come in and they can come in with these high parasite loads. We try to quarantine every animal that we get, at least for a period of time away from the other animals. I've got, so down here, I've got 3 separate rooms. I've got this room. I've got the room we were just in, which is my bigger non-venomous room. And then we've kind of got a room where we set up temporary quarantine tanks behind me.
Mhm.
And, most of all the wild caught stuff typically stays in quarantine for 90 plus days, maybe a little bit longer. The captive bred stuff, I'll keep them in quarantine normally at least 60 days, just away from my other stuff. I mean, I got too many snakes in my collection to let one snake get them all sick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That squam that died, I only had him for about a month. He was an import, and I didn't get a necropsy done on him when he died. I probably should have, but I didn't. I figured if he was the only one that died and he was an import, great. If somehow his disease got airborne and my other snakes die, I'll start getting necropsies to find out what they got. Squams have some weird viruses they come over with that can. I have a buddy that told me his whole collection got wiped out from an import squam that was carrying a virus.
Wow.
And it was like wildfire because he was feeding his squam's mice. But if a squam bit the mouse and then just decided not to eat, he was taking that same mouse and putting it back in the water with tongs and then feeding it to another squam. Just not thinking about it. I mean, when you got 60 of them,
yeah, right.
You need to save some time. But his whole collection ended up getting wiped out from it.
Wow, I couldn't imagine that, man.
Yeah, that would be devastating.
Hey, look who's here.
Sorry, I'm late.
Oh,
You missed all the fun stuff, man.
Yeah, I know. I'll watch it.
It would be nerve wracking if my whole collection. Granted, when you got 100 snakes, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get a snake that gets sick. You're going to get a snake that gets a respiratory infection.
Right.
Doesn't matter how good your husbandry is, how good you get a snake that gets sick.
To lose an entire collection, though, that's devastating. That's I mean, not only are you losing animals you love, that's money invested, time invested, and I can imagine a lot of people probably just call it quits after that.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that at all. A lot of people probably call it quits. Luckily, I've never been through that situation.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to be ever.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah, no. But like I said, I try to keep everything on the straight and narrow here. My wife's really good at taking care of animals. I mean, we've got, and I don't just have reptiles. We got a dog, we got a cat, we got hedgehogs. We got axolotls. I mean, I should start charging admission like a petting zoo here.
Come pet my cobra. $5. Or
do not petting zoo.
You'd be surprised at the people. I posted a picture of my monocled on I forgot what Facebook group it was, but so the first question I got was, "Is that a cobra?" And my answer was yes. The second question I got was, "Is it venomous?" I'm like,
well, man.
I bought this one without the venom.
Yeah, it's like just the thought process of some people. I get people are uneducated, naive, don't know. But I mean, if your first question is this a cobra? Like, when have you met a cobra that you can just walk up and reach out and say hello to? It's like, I've got people. The best part on a lot of these venomous forums, and I don't know if you guys are part of any of them, but the best part is the people that misidentify the snakes they have
all the time.
Yeah,
I've
seen that recently. I'm one of them.
Yeah, wow.
I was just on one where a guy posted his species. He said he had a Bitis gabonica, which is an East African gaboon.
Okay.
Well, the picture he had, not to mention, I mean, the dude was tailing a gaboon viper that was about 15 inches long, which is just asking for trouble. But I'm looking at the pictures and the video of a snake. I'm like, that's not a gabonica. That's a Bitis rhinoceros. That's a West African gaboon. And I mean, the antivenom's the same, so that's not a huge deal. But their venoms are totally different. I mean, Bitis rhinoceros has a hemotoxic venom, but there's no neurotoxins inside of it. East African gaboons have neurotoxins in their venom too. So not only is it attacking blood and everything else, but it's attacking your nervous system. So I mean, they're two totally different venoms, and as a keeper, if you're going to buy from somebody, you need to know what the hell you're buying.
Right.
You know, like,
Well,
I mean,
on
some
the
of these
topic-
people that,
on the topic of anti-venom, like what's the availability? How, I mean, if something were to happen, what would be the standard procedure?
I have some of my own for some of my species.
Okay.
The North American stuff is all hospital based for me. I mean, I got medical insurance, and my medical insurance is going to cover it if there's a problem.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people say insurance doesn't. I mean, medical insurance, my medical insurance will cover it. I'm not worried about it. And if it doesn't, you know, it is what it is. The problem with the North American pit viper antivenoms, Crofab and Anavip, is the cost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, you get, let's say, however many vials of SIMR for a gaboon at a couple $100 a piece plus shipping. You know, you're into it for 10 vials for a couple grand. You know, and granted, 10 vials probably isn't going to cure you. But you do that same 10 vials for Crofab or for Anavip, and I mean, you're 25, 30, 40 grand in the hole.
Wow.
So it's stupid because those are the only two that are approved in the U.S. as antivenoms.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the antivenoms that you get in from out of the country are going to be experimental drugs. So, and you know, it's kind of like I equate it to big pharma. You know, it's like all the approved drugs in the U.S. You go to buy name brand drugs, and you end up spending $100 a pill for stuff.
Right.
You know, well, Crofab and Anavip are approved in the U.S. for use for North American pit viper bites, but you know, you're going to pay ridiculous amounts per vial to keep it on your own.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Even like
And you know, I got a letter from my local hospital that, you know, if I got a snake bite, they'll treat me. You know,
You said the 10 vials wouldn't cure you. I mean, is it? What do you mean by that? Like that you have to take
you know, it just
like multiple doses over time to.
Yeah, I guess, you know, I have all the bite protocols. So if you look here, this is one of those responsible keeper things that you need to have just as a responsible person. And you'd be surprised at the people that don't have this stuff.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've got files for every single snake I've got. You know, I've got, you know, allergic reactions and antivenom reactions, because you'd be surprised at, I mean, I've got them all labeled by species. So, you know, like the first one up, North American pit vipers, this is the bite protocol for North American pit vipers. This is how long it is. I mean, this tells a doctor, if you were to bring it with you, exactly how to treat you for all of these snakes.
All right.
And you'd be surprised at how many people don't have this stuff, and you'd be surprised at how many doctors don't know how to treat. I mean, you know, luckily I have the privilege of going to, in May, I'm going to the Venom conference in Houston. And, you know, there's a couple really smart, educated people that are going to be speaking there. You know, Spencer Green, he's a, you know, just a nationwide world-renowned toxicologist here. You know, you got Kristen Wiley from over at Kentucky Reptile Zoo. They're probably one of the largest venom milkers in the world, if not, you know, they're definitely the nation, but probably close to the world. You know, her and her husband on that. But I love watching their posts and watching what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're responsible keepers. Spencer's very educated and knowledgeable. I mean, I've talked to him on Facebook a little bit, just with questions and, you know, hey, if this were to happen, what do you do? And there's so much knowledge and wealth of knowledge available to you in this hobby. And with the advent of the internet and Facebook and everything else, I mean, granted, you can't believe everything you read on Facebook.
As Adam would call it, fake book.
Yeah.
Yeah, fake book.
However, there are a select few people on Facebook that I will definitely take advice from.
Right.
And there's some good pages. I mean, Spencer admins a bite page on Facebook. I forgot the name of the pages. I think it's like the National Snake Bite Facebook group or something like that, where they've got protocols on there. People get bit by all kinds of venomous species, and they post on there And like they've got a couple doctors, a couple toxicologists, and a couple veterinarians if your dog gets bit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
People post on there, and they have one of the doctors or somebody will reply.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Joe Pittman is the one that does these bite protocols out of Florida. He lives on the West Coast in Tampa. Just another guy, I believe he's a registered nurse. But I mean, dude's got a wealth of knowledge. He did all these bite protocols. He charges pennies on the dollar for his research and knowledge and making these books. You know, I mean, he sold me, he makes a USB drive that has countless amounts of species on there for bite protocols.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's $200.
It's worth your
I mean,
life for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, every single snake I got, you know, you bring the protocol, and you know, then obviously you got to get the doctor to follow the protocol. But you know, if I'm dying, the doctor's following the protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Adam said Big Pharma pays my bills, and yes, it is mind blowing. I've pulled up drugs into a syringe that is the same cost of a car.
Of course, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous, and you know, it is what it is. But you know, like I said, this is just another precaution that you take.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I just ordered a $400 pair of gloves from Europe. You know, it's funny, safety gear when doing this stuff, there's certain guys that just free handle, don't use gloves, don't use boots, don't use this, don't use that. And, you know, I'm not looking for anything to replace my safety. I'm looking for stuff that just gives me an edge. And there's certain species where I'm going to use gloves, and there's certain species where I'm not. You know, but I've seen the videos on these Venom Defender gloves out of Europe. And I mean, not that I'm going to test them and have a snake bite them, but I'll tell you, go on YouTube and look them up. I mean, they've got gaboons, kings, mambas. They've got all kinds of snakes biting into these things, and their fangs aren't tearing through them. And I'm just looking at them like, well, first off, you're an idiot for even trying and testing with your own hand. But you know, then the other side of me looks at it and it's like, damn, these things are amazing. And nothing substitutes common sense, obviously.
Right.
But go for it.
So on the toxicology part, I'm sure you're familiar with Tim Fried.
What was the last name?
Fried or Fried. It might be Fried. F-R-I-E-I-D-E or something like that.
Okay,
F-R-I-E-D-E.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
What would you say to someone who would want to test that theory for themselves and try and work on immune?
Oh, Tim Fried's the dude that that let himself get immune or tried to get immune from self-biting, like letting snakes bite him.
Yeah, like there's videos making mama bites and
I mean, everybody's got their own version of crazy.
$20,000 for not Venom. I don't think I could afford to try to become immune.
Yeah, you know, the thing with me is I don't even know how you start going about trying to test if you can become immune to snake bites.
Yeah, 'cause what if it
I don't know if you just wake up one day and just say, hey, let me let this snake bite me and let me see if I die. Like, I don't even know how he got started. I mean, I commend him. I mean, his body handled it well. I don't have the balls to do it myself.
Hell no.
Yeah, I mean,
so from what I was reading, he started off with like microscopic doses of venom, basically, and slowly worked his way up to like full on like bites, which is just kind of insane to me. Because
I mean, you know, to each their own. I mean, you know, the one thing I learned in this hobby is I don't talk bad about anybody that does this, because everybody's got their own method and the way they do things with these things. Right. I mean, you know, Tyler Nolan, I watch his videos. He's a cool dude. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he also got bit by a king cobra. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, and he's knowledgeable, he's experienced, and, you know, I got nothing but respect for the guy. I mean, the guy's an experienced handler. I mean, I've seen his videos. I've seen what he does. I mean, you know, he's a risk taker. Mm-hmm. I mean, bottom line is, in my opinion, you can form what you feel are bonds and trust with snakes, but you know, all it takes is one mistake.
Right.
You know, one firecracker, one glass dropping on the floor and breaking. You know, all it takes is one thing to scare a snake, and now you're dealing with the difference between, you know, life and death.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, do I think I have some venomous snakes that I can go in, reach in their enclosure, and pick up? 100%. I'm fully confident that I do. Would I? No. You know, it's just not my belief. And, you know, like I said, I got nothing but love for people that do it. I got no criticism. I don't think it hurts the hobby with people free handling. You know, I think it hurts the hobby with people that get bit and are stupid.
Yeah.
You know, Chandler's Wildlife. He's another one. I mean, that dude's young. He's experienced. He's. I love watching his stuff. I love watching the risk he takes. But am I going to do it? Absolutely not. You know, I mean, I'll save my entertainment to watch other people do it.
Right.
Right.
You know, I mean,
You'd rather not test it too, you know.
no,
I
mean,
totally get that, you know.
no, like, I mean, you know, somebody asked me earlier.
It's not like you're gonna take a bite from, you know, your retic and it'll heal, you know. While I mean, the venomous snake bite might heal, but there's gonna be permanent damage.
Most of the time,
you know.
yeah. I mean, they say 25% of venomous snake bites are dry. I don't know, you know, I don't know how they measure that, stat. But you know, you got a 75% chance of being envenomated, and you know, if you get envenomated by something that either has large quantities of venom, whether it's highly toxic or not, if they're injecting large quantities, or if you get bit by a monocle cobra or something like that has neurotoxins and hemotoxins that go to work within an hour.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I choose to do things as safely as possible. You know, if I'm going to examine my snakes or if I'm bringing them to the vet, which luckily I haven't had to bring any to the vet yet. But, you know, I've got tubes. If you guys have ever seen a tubing done on a venomous snake.
Yes.
You know, I was reading an article the other day on somebody that bought tubes and the snake bit through the tube. I'm like, okay, well, you ended up finding out the guy bought his tubes on Amazon. I'm like, you know, dude, come on. I mean, you know, you've got
like,
things. It's like going skydiving with a parachute that you sewed at home.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's
buying those gloves you were talking about on Wish.
Exactly. I mean, you know, it's just there's so many people that try to shortcut, and not to forget venomous snakes, non-venomous snakes. I mean, you know, there's people that buy these snakes and they stick them in, you know, they have no idea how to care for them, and they stick them in whatever. They get into the hobby, they're in it for like 2 months, and they sell their collection. And you know that you talk about people ruining the hobby and ruining that's what does it. It's just stupid people that, you know, that don't take care of their stuff, don't take care of their animals.
Right.
And the worst of people that won't even take advice on it.
Yeah.
When you
I'm looking to see if anybody else is awake. Everybody seems to be sleeping. You know, all my carpets are out. This is my breeding wall of my carpets right here. I actually have them in my venomous room because I keep them a little bit cooler. Yeah. So you asked about favorite snake. This is probably my favorite guy that I own. He's a 7-year-old Irian Jaya carpet python, Papuan carpet python. He's my dude. You know, I'd use that snake for educational presentations and everything. I mean, people give carpets a bad rap because they have bad attitudes, supposedly. But I mean, he's like an overgrown ball python. So he's probably my favorite non-venomous snake that I've got.
And most of the snakes are nowadays. As long as you spend the time with them, they're, you know, gentle giants for the most part.
I can't hear Josh. He's talking, but he's not hasn't any sound coming out.
Oh,
really? I can
hear Josh.
Well, goddamn, I can't.
Did you? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does Josh have closed captioning so I can read?
He was saying, you know, if you spend the time with pretty much any species, you can kind of make them become docile. But I know we have retics and carpets that, you know, they're same temperament as a ball python.
But I'll tell you, you know, like I've got a white lip python here.
Can you hear him now, Josh?
No.
No, I can't hear him.
Did you accidentally mute him from your screen or something? Maybe
How do I mute him?
him. Yeah, I don't think you guys have a mute button. I don't. That's weird.
Yeah, all I can do is mute myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I can mute everybody, but no one's muted.
That's weird.
I don't know. I'll just relay what he says.
That's all good. I've got a northern white lip, my wife and I, who is a complete and utter dickhead, and we've had him for a while, and we try to handle him. But I mean, he will. Oh yeah, see. So he is. Oh, whoops! You're still looking at me.
Oh,
So, he's just a complete and utter ass sometimes.
right.
Getting him out of his enclosure is a nightmare.
I think we
He'll
can say the
musk.
same about ours.
Yeah, he'll musk, he'll bite, he'll do whatever.
Mhm.
Just to get away. And when he's in feeding mode, don't even go by his enclosure. It's a waste of time. I mean, I'm surprised the snake doesn't have a broken jaw. We try to feed him like the last snake of the day, and like we're going upstairs and not going to see him till the next day, because if we feed him and he finishes and we're still down there, it's just repeated striking at the glass like there's food still sitting out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's a rough one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, our southern's always fun to breeding.
Yeah, Josh was just saying like ours is you notice the temperament change during like breeding season. He becomes a little more of a dick, but
Yeah.
typically throughout the rest of the year, I mean, we were holding him, took a video of him, everything, and he was completely fine. So
Is it a white lip?
yeah, southern.
Okay. Northern or southern?
Southern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that plays a part, being not southern or northern, or it just might be luck of the draw with them.
I don't think so. I don't know if you guys know Dan Magano or not.
He does. I don't know.
Yeah, so Dan's big blood and SST breeder, Sumatran breeder. But he picked up, I think he bought a pair of Southerns. Don't quote me on it, but I think he got a pair of Southerns. And one of his Southerns, he said, is a sweetheart.
Mhm.
Like, take him out, and he said the other one is like the spawn of Satan.
Yeah.
It's like he actually. I was talking about trap boxes. He built a homemade trap box for his white lip.
Wow.
And listen.
I mean, hey.
I give it to people that love to, Johnny Badass that likes to reach into whatever enclosure. It doesn't matter if he gets bit, whatever it is, it is.
Mhm.
I'm not one for reaching in and getting bit by a snake I know is going to bite me.
Right. No,
I'm not. I mean, I know there's guys out there that don't give a shit. They get these retics and they don't care if they reach in and bite. I mean, I personally, I don't enjoy getting bit. It's not fun. But if I know I have a snake that's going to bite me when I reach in the cage, I mean, Jen, she's fearless. My wife, my white lip, if I reach in there, he's going to bite me.
Mhm.
Her, when she reaches in there and grabs him, he's good. And she's got no fear with it. I don't have a fear issue. I just don't want to get bit issue.
Right.
I mean, she gets bit all the time, and I got a Biak locality green tree python.
Mhm.
That's another. He's an asshole too. I mean, he's just a defensive arboreal snake. And
Jamie said, I just got my first retic. How often do you guys handle yours to get that trust built?
you guys can answer that. I'm not a retic expert. I know about them, but I mean, I've got a berm.
All right.
Right.
It's like every few days, at least once a week.
Yeah, once, twice a week, especially while cleaning them. We'll pull them out and handle them for a couple minutes each. Conrad, how often?
I think. I mean, when acclimating my babies, I'm not gonna lie. I probably had them out every day, at least 20 minutes a day with handling with my baby retics.
Just as far as
Everyone has a different opinion on it. Some people say handle them as much as you can to get them used to it. Other people will tell you that it stresses them out and it's worse to handle them all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it kind of depends on your snake.
I mean, my retics, I handled them once or twice a week, and they just, all my retics were hook trained. So, I mean, tap them on the head with a hook or a paper towel roll. And normally I used a paper towel roll. In fact, I just I just started buying some hooks, like rubber tipped hooks.
Mhm.
Because I had a retic that I always just tap on his head and he'd freaking bite the hook. And I started using paper towel rolls because I'm like, dude's going to start losing all his teeth from biting on a metal hook.
Yeah.
So I started using the end of a paper towel roll to do it. And, now I found there's some companies out there that make rubber tipped hooks. And, I've got a rubber tipped hook. I don't know where it's at right now, but it's got like 30 bite marks in it, from snakes just biting it. But,
Yeah.
it's cool. I mean,
It's better that they bite the hook, especially a rubber one, than your hand or face.
Exactly. I mean, I've been around big snakes. I've dealt with them. I had my retic. My biggest retic I had was my male. I think he was like 14 or 15 feet. I mean, he wasn't huge. But I you get into it with some of the people in that arena too. Don't handle your big snake without somebody else with you. It's like, dude, first off, there's ways to handle big snakes to where you don't have to worry about having another person with you. I'll just come out and say it right now. I mean, you don't wrap snakes around your neck, when you're by yourself. I mean, my big snakes, one shoulder and the head stayed in front of me. And as long as you're controlling their head, I mean, they're strong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a 15-foot snake isn't a wimp, but by no means did I wait for somebody. I mean, what's my wife going to do? She's like 5'2".
Right.
So, I mean, I got my wife was 5'2", probably weighs like 120 soaking wet. I mean, and I got a 50-pound snake wrapping around me. What's she going to do unless she stabs it and kills it? I mean, she's not going to get it off me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just there's safe methods for every genre of snake, every species of snake to hold, to care for. I mean, there's safe methods. You don't show off. You don't become an internet sensation. I mean, you just handle your snakes and treat them like they're
safe handling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just, that's the cool part about Venomous. If you can manage not to get bit by non-venomous snakes, you'll probably do okay with venomous snakes. If your non-venomous snakes bite you every other week, you're going to have a tough time. I mean, that's somebody posted today, like the saying with venomous snakes, it's not if you get bit, but when, and granted, there's probably some truth to that. I mean, you're always taking a risk whenever you have to get them out. But if you go into it every single time with that saying in your head, I mean, you dramatically lessen your risks. If you take your snakes out just when you need to take them out, not when you want to go on YouTube and show pictures of them or get clickbait and whatever else you want to do on YouTube. I mean, you dramatically lessen your risk the less you have to remove these snakes from their enclosures.
Right.
I mean,
he's still a baby, seems very comfortable with being out, but don't want to overdo it. Starting to get him used to a hook, even though it's not needed quite yet.
I'm going to close out and try to rejoin back in.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I would definitely, I mean, personally, I would tap train starting now.
Yeah.
There's really no age limit on it. Get it
right. Yeah. I mean,
no, we've got a baby Berm, and I want to start tap training him. I mean, he's probably 3 months old.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's pretty mellow. I can reach in and grab him. But like if I pick him up wrong, he'll open his mouth and he doesn't bite, but he like puts his teeth on you.
Yeah.
He's kind of snappy, but he's probably in feeding mode. I mean, you gotta let them know that you're reaching in to take them out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, I thought everyone could hear me before. I'm like, maybe not.
No problem. What was that last week's video we posted? Adam, or was that Adam?
What?
Yeah, went over to tap train.
Yeah, Adam was last week.
Yeah, it kind of went over it and whatnot. I'm sure there's plenty of info on it if you're not sure.
Look it up.
Yep. So, oh,
Yeah.
awkward turtle.
All right. So, Josh, you got any questions? Or no?
No, I don't know. I probably was saying random shit.
What's going on, Chris? Chris Dodge says, "Hey." Any of the viewers have any more questions before we close it up, or anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, is there anything that you want to leave the viewers with?
Yeah, covered a lot, definitely.
No, I
I
mean,
kind of feel bad I missed this one. Sorry, I end up having mechanical
That's
issues.
not
with the
good.
vehicle.
it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good. I mean, like I said, it's just I recommend anybody that wants to get into venomous snakes, they try. I mean, if it's something that genuinely interests them, and it's not just
Medical
a
laws.
status thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a genuine love for snakes, I mean, venomous snakes are just it's a next level thing. I mean, people outgrow boas and ball pythons, and you get into things that are a little more exotic, a little more fun, and unfortunately, with that exotic and that fun and those pretty colors and those cool eyes and those cool patterns, you start getting into a little more danger. But
Right.
it's just it's kind of risk versus reward thing. I mean, for me, keeping all these reptiles is a reward. I mean, it's luckily I'm in a state that I can legally keep them. All the legislature that's going down in all these states now. I mean, there's some states where they took away your right to even own them.
Yeah.
I mean, even Florida now. I mean, Florida. I was reading the statutes the other day in Florida, and just every single species in Florida that you own, you have to have separate training in. And I think it's like 1,000 hours in each species.
Wow.
And it's like,
Ooh.
I mean, break down 1,000 hours. I mean, it's like 50 days, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it's not.
40 something days, and so you got to spend 40 days for 24 hours a day for every single species you want to house. I mean, right now, I would have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd have to have 14,000 hours.
Wow.
Of training to prove the snake, and it's just not realistic, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't even know if you'd be able to fit that in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and like even my bordering states, Kentucky, there's no venomous allowed. You can't keep anything. Ohio got strict back in 2010 or 11. If you guys haven't read up on the Zanesville massacre, read up on it.
No.
So there's a dude that lived in Zanesville, Ohio, which is east of Columbus. I don't know the story behind the dude. I don't know if he was just crazy or trying to commit suicide or what the deal was, but I know he had some mental issues, but he had like a zoo with lions and tigers and bears and all kinds of crap, and he let them all loose in the city.
Yeah.
And the cops ended up responding, and they killed 25 or 30 animals. I mean, there's tigers walking the street.
Wow.
And bears and all kinds of other crap. And after that, Ohio government enacted the dangerous wild animal ban, and they were able to group venomous, because Ohio used to be easy. You used to be able to buy whatever you wanted. There was nothing. It was like Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It was like
That's kind of like how Michigan is, I
exactly.
believe.
I mean, Josh Alder lives in Michigan, and he gets in all kinds of cool stuff, imported and stuff like that. But now Ohio, I mean, you got to go through all these hoops, and you got to jump through this hoop and jump through that hoop and carry this liability insurance, and that's unfortunately that's where the world's going. I mean, I see people, U.S. Ark. I love U.S. Ark because they try to, they try to support our rights as reptile keepers, but they're posting stuff every day about just you can't sell this animal at this show. This is the new legislature they're trying to pass, and you can't do native animals. And
yeah, see, I wish it wasn't like that. I just wish it would be more. Make sure whoever's buying stuff like that, like anything from alligators to retics, make sure that person knows what they're actually getting into.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of goofs that get into venomous and they have no clue what they're doing. It's like start out a little bit smaller before you hop into that. Like I've been doing this since I was real young, and I still have never done venomous.
Right.
I've always wanted to, but now I have kids, and I wouldn't want that in the house. But it's just make sure that people know what they're getting themselves into.
100%.
Find alligators, they think it's cool, and then it gets 8+ some feet, and they can't deal with it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing like in Ohio. I mean, some of the laws also don't make sense. I've got there's a law in Ohio when I import venomous snakes from other states, you got to have a CBI, which, a veterinary certificate, a health certificate, and you got to have a microchip. Well, the microchip doesn't have to be implanted. You just need the microchip.
What?
And
Of course it does.
it's really strange. And you got to do it. You got to have the number. So like I've got all these. Check this out. So on the side of every one of my cages,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've got a microchip with a barcode. Because that's where they go. I mean,
Let's see.
you know, there's really
Now,
there's
did
nothing
you have
else
to
to
pay
it. I mean,
for it? Did you have to pay for the microchips?
of
I'm
course.
taking it. Yep. So it's just
Yeah.
another way to get money.
Yeah, but the problem is that the state's not getting the money. It's just going to the vet from the state you're buying it from.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the state themselves, you know, so any venomous snake that comes into Ohio, you got to have a CVI and you got to have a chip. You know, you got to get an import permit from the Department of Agriculture. So, but it doesn't cost anything. So it's free, but it's like, it's just an extra step. They're big brother. They want to know everything you've got.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, you got to keep them updated on your inventory. You got to keep them updated on just everything. It's like having your mom with you to hold your hand, you know, and my wife's from Pennsylvania. I mean, you go to the Hamburg show, and I mean, you can buy any snake you want. I mean, you can be 19 and you can go buy a cobra.
We're in Pittsburgh, and literally you go to the shows and you can get anything.
Yeah.
100%.
They said I don't really find that wrong. They said I just wish people would choose on who they sell to. You know, there's a lot of people that do it right and deserve to have that, and there's a lot of people that just should never.
Well, a Hamburg, there's just that thing in Pennsylvania. Well, there are two things that just happened in Pennsylvania. One with the guy that the cobra got out of his house, and some lady killed it with a shovel.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then there was another one. I don't know if it was at Hamburg or one of the shows where a dude sold some 18-year-old kid an alligator. Or 17.
It happens all the time.
We had 3 or 4 let loose here in Pittsburgh.
This year, just as 2019, it happened. 4 of them.
It's crazy. And you want to hear something funny? We, there's a guy in Ohio, Vincent Schlock. He's a berm breeder here, but he knows the laws pretty well with the exotic animal laws. He went over to the Department of Agriculture to one of the field offices, and some dude in Ohio turned in a black mamba. He was keeping them illegally, and he just handed them in. And it's like, dude, you bought a black mamba. You have no idea what you bought. Now you're just going to give them away.
Let's see. Adam said he's a U.S. ARC member. He thinks it's a must if you're a reptile keeper. Chris wants to know who's going to Tinley in March.
I am.
I wish I was.
We're gonna shoot.
I think Josh are going to try to go, definitely.
Tinley's a 4-hour drive for me, so it's not it's not the end of the world. My wife and I went to the one last March. We went to October. We're gonna go again this March. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
Even if fall.
You what?
I'm shooting for fall.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'll never show because figure I got Myrtle Beach, everything in August, and so much shit planned. But
yeah, I mean, I love Tinley. Tinley's like the coolest reptile show you could ever go to. I mean, the only disadvantage of Tinley is there's no venomous snakes there for me, but every other snake you could possibly want's there.
Yeah.
Adam said he's going to try to go in October too.
Nice.
Yeah. Jamie said she's an
man.
hour outside of Pittsburgh.
What's that?
Jamie says she's an hour outside of Pittsburgh. Or
Nice.
I don't know. Jamie could be a guy's name too. I'm not sure. I'm not going to assume. Yeah. Oh, and Chris, if you want to post a link to that collage in the comments, feel free. I don't know if any of you guys follow him on social media. He makes collages, people holding snakes and stuff. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So,
All right.
Cool.
yeah.
I'll make sure I follow that link.
We got to get Conrad to do his first show.
Conrad to do his first show.
Yeah, so I'm from northern Michigan, and the closest show to me is like 3 hours away, and it's still not even that. It's like it's Grand Rapids, and I've heard like it's not even that good of a show. So I think I try and make even Tinley this fall. Not March. I probably won't make March, but I'm gonna try for Tinley.
You live in Canada.
Yeah, it's like oh, not quite. I'm not in like the Upper Peninsula, but I'm in like the northern part of the Lower Peninsula.
Gotcha.
So
Jamie is in fact.
It's like really cold right now. So,
Chris said there was a gator
20
in
degrees
Chicago
outside.
too.
It,
Yeah, I seen a bunch released last year. There was like a few in Detroit. There was a couple in Pennsylvania. It was really weird. Like one or two in Ohio, I think I heard of.
Or going to release them, at least release them where they're like from and have a chance of making it. I don't want to release them, but it's better than putting them in the Pittsburgh River and eventually they're going to get either die or found or
There's definitely proper ways to go about it if you can't.
Which really going and release them back down in North Carolina or Florida isn't a great idea, but at least they're there.
Yeah.
Reach out to another keeper who maybe wants to take it off your hands. I don't know.
There's plenty of people. You go and there's 10 to 20 alligators for sale, and they sell. Now you got 20 alligators that people this little cute little thing.
Yeah, and they're like this big at the show. They're not expensive. I mean,
I won't own one. Like that's until we have a full established shop, and I still probably won't do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. When I was a teenager, I was 14, 15 years old, and I bought an alligator from some guy who, back in the day, and that was 11 years ago.
Adam says, sorry, not sorry. You got Pete Tom to release a gator. Chris said, who's your favorite breeder? Example, I guess his is Nerd. I guess I didn't want to cut you off there, Conrad. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Eric?
My favorite breeder?
Yeah,
for what?
Yeah.
He just said, who's your favorite breeder?
I mean, man, there's so many breeders that I've purchased snakes from. Fuck.
Right. It's kind of hard to find like a favorite one.
But it's, the tough part is like, you forge relationships with certain people, like Michael Joliffe, and I bought 2 snakes from him, and he's in South Carolina. But the transactions for me have been like the easiest transactions of my life. Like the dude didn't give me a hard time. Ohio's a bitch to buy venomous snakes. I mean, it's a bitch for the breeder because they've got to go do all the legwork and go to the vet and get a microchip and get a health certificate.
Right.
And it's really hard. Some breeders just don't want to deal with people that live in tough states.
Right.
And most of your venomous reptiles, most are coming out of Texas. Or they're, if it's a Crotalus species, it might be coming out of California. Or like out of Michigan, Josh Alder, he's a great dude. I want to buy a snake from him. He's always got like a list of like 70 snakes, and I can just never make up my mind on what I want. It's like, damn, well, I want that one, but I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one. And then I end up not buying anything because I can't determine what I want.
Right.
Or by the time I figure out what I want, he's already sold it.
Right.
So I mean, I like dealing with Miguel or Michael Joliffe out of South Carolina. Dude's really easy to deal with. He produces some beautiful, beautiful Cayethias, monocle cobras, all kinds of morphs. I mean, mine's an orange pastel, but he's got some leucistic ones that he produces, blizzards, just all kinds of cool looking snakes. He sold me my copperhead also. I got a spotted copperhead from him, which is kind of a more rare morph of copperhead. But I mean, for arboreals, I mean, Tommy Spawn has been very good. He's on the Venomous pages. He's usually got a pretty big selection of arboreals, but I got a Squam from him. My Pit Viper came from him, the Jordans, and the Nitschke came from him also, the Great Lakes Bush Viper. And I mean, dude's straight up, I bought the snakes from him, did what I needed to do, got them next day. And then, ball python breeders, I mean, there's too many to name. I mean, I've got
everybody.
I've got snakes from JT Tomlinson. I've got snakes from Mike Brizzy. Don't have a Justin Kabilka snake yet, but soon, maybe, if my wife decides to go further. Yeah, he makes some cool stuff. Brian Carter's a buddy of mine that lives out in Tennessee, who's a breeder there. Love dealing with him. Got a few snakes from him. there's just so many people out there that are reputable and good.
Right. And it probably gets narrowed down more to species too.
It does. Like, I know if I'm going to buy a snake, except for ball pythons, I know if I'm going to buy a snake who I'm going to check with first.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's going to be my favorite, and it's very species dependent.
Yeah.
Ball pythons, I don't have that guy because there's just too many people my wife and I have dealt with, and we know that there's never a first. It's like something pops up on Facebook that's a cool morph. It's like, you know what? I've dealt with this dude. He's cool as shit. I'll buy a snake from him.
Right.
And I won't get into people I avoid, but there's just too many breeders out there that are really good quality people. Not just breeders, but they're good people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would rather buy a snake that wasn't the most beautiful product in the world from a reputable person than buy the most beautiful snake in the world from somebody that's a jackass.
Yeah.
I mean, my carpets. I mean, one of my carpets, my favorite carpet I bought from David Semino up at Tinley. I bought him last year.
See you later, Adam.
Huh?
Sorry, Adam said he's taking off. I was just saying bye.
Oh, cool. I bought carpets from some great carpet breeders. I bought some green tree pythons. I bought one from Ryan Burke, who's a big importer from Bushmaster. But if I'm going to buy an import GTP, Ryan Burke or Harlan Wall, or most likely, or Ian Bessel, are the only guys I'm going to buy them from, because I know that their imports are quality. They're not garbage.
Right.
I mean, there's just that's the questions too. There's just too much to that.
Too vague, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Yeah, we're going on like an hour and a half, and I hate to cut it short because you've honestly brought a lot to the table.
No, man, you're good. You're good.
Everything. So if there's anything you want the viewers to take away from tonight, what would you leave them with?
Don't let anything hold you back from the snakes you want to keep. If you want to keep venomous snakes, keep venomous snakes. Just make sure you're prepared. Make sure you've handled through a mentor. Make sure you've researched. Make sure that you don't skimp on anything when it comes to safety. Make sure that you need to make sure that you're not only looking out for your life, but you're looking out for the people that live around you too.
Right.
Nobody enters my venomous room without me knowing them very well. Like I said, I've got a couple people that I'm helping try to mentor here in Ohio to help them get their license.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to vet them for quite a while before I said, come to my house. But, get what you like, and, I don't care what people say. I don't care if people dislike me for what I have or what I like. It doesn't bother me, but I just recommend that for other people. I mean, don't take other people's, don't do this, don't do that. Do what you think is right, and just make sure that you do it right.
Right.
People tell me I'm crazy all the time, man. I got an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. My 12-year-old lives right above my venomous room. Like, her room is directly above me.
Yeah.
And, it's like, am I scared? Absolutely not. I know my snakes aren't getting out. I know my room's escape proof. I know my daughter knows what to do if she sees a rattlesnake crawling around.
Right.
It's the same thing with guns, man. You teach your kids the right way to do stuff. You don't have to worry about them getting hurt.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'd tell people. Don't let anything hold you back from doing what you want to do. Just do your research and be safe.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
be responsible.
Oh, thanks, man. And yeah, we definitely appreciate you joining us, man,
Hey,
and
man,
showing us some of the stuff. It's
No,
really cool.
No problem. I'm looking forward to what you guys have coming in the future.
Oh yeah, absolute pleasure.
Oh yeah.
I definitely covered a lot.
Yeah.
It was like 20 minutes in. I was like, are we going to have enough for an hour? He's already covered like 30 things. It was good, man.
Right. And then here we are, like an hour and 40 minutes later. I don't think we've covered everything now. But yeah, thanks, man. We definitely appreciate you coming on. It's been a good time. And if you ever want to come back on, just let me know. I mean,
yeah, no problem, Conrad.
I'm sure here in another year, you're probably going to have like twice the size collection, maybe, you know.
Yeah, actually we're kind of 100's kind of our limit. We feel we've gotten to the point where we have enough snakes that we can adequately care for. I don't want to get to the point where I have too many and I can't take care of them.
Right. Definitely.
So-
Right.
We
It's
always
definitely
welcome more
respectable.
I mean, I think Conrad said, well, we could have 6 people on here or something like that. So if you ever want to
Yeah, we
hop
can
on
have
with
up to like 6 at once.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. No, definitely. I'll shoot you guys. I'll hit you guys up in the future again.
Cool. Thank you, man. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Erik. Yep. Thank
See ya.
you,
Bye.
man. All right. Well, guess who showed up a little late to the party? I'm just kidding.
All right, Jamie. Take care. Thank you
Yeah,
for
I had
stopping.
That was like my only shot to figure out what's wrong with my vehicle.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, definitely important stuff comes first. So
All right, you guys ready to say bye so I can hit this end
yeah,
button?
we might as well say bye.
Sorry, I
Thank
was
you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.
Hold up.